It is Whiteboard Wednesday. Let's see if we can go to the whiteboard and build some things out. I have been kind of digging a little bit deeper into this whole idea of how a lot of what we do from a sales and leadership perspective connects directly with what we see in nature. One of the things that we struggle with as humans, or at least I struggle with as a human being, is communication. You've heard me say this before. There are things that are said, there are things that are heard, there are things that are remembered. One of the things that we can do to help improve clarity of communication is use signs. If I put up this sign, most of you already are starting to see this get put together. If I put up that sign and color it red, what does it indicate that you should do? It indicates that you should stop. All right. So that sign, an octagon colored in red, indicates stop. If I have a green circle, what's that indicate? Go. We can move forward. If I see somebody walking at a crosswalk, that indicates that I can go. If I see something that's red, it indicates stop. So there's different things that you can do with a combination of both signals and signs. Signals that you give people, nonverbal cues that you give people, and signs that you make available. I shared that I was at the National Speakers Association conference last week, and one of the things that was a really good indicator of a sign that someone might be open to have a conversation is the new member badge, the new member ribbon, or a first-time attendee ribbon. As a first-time attendee at a conference, it can be a little bit overwhelming. Having people who've been at those conferences before, or at least open to helping ask you a question, can start to open your eyes to new things and new ideas. So let's start thinking about how we can use signals and signs to improve and expand communication, and how we can use those in a very simple format to help create clarity so that when people are moving really quickly, they know what they should do. So when you're driving, I'd like you to take just some time and observe all of the signs that you see, not signals first. Let's just talk about signs, all of the signs that you see in certain areas. Now, the thing about signs is signs are rigid. They stick in a certain place. When we were on the Durango-Silverton train, there were mile marker signs. Those mile marker signs showed the distance in miles on the railroad between where we were and the city of Denver. So you could see at mile 474, as an example, that we were 474 miles away from Denver, at least as the railroad line has run through. Signs. What are some of the signs that you have inside your organization to help indicate what people should or shouldn't be doing? How do you pass those signs along? How can you communicate effectively with those signs? One of the ways that we're working on communicating more effectively with some of the signs that we're putting out into the market is the use of more specific branding, so that we can indicate, hey, are we talking about content that's more entry level or more intermediate level, more advanced, as an example, so that we know what version of an audience or how to draw the right audience into the content. Another thing that we're working on is the logo inside the business, so that when you see it, you recognize it, know it, and connect it with the brand. Another thing that I do is I constantly wear black t-shirts. So if you see me out in public or out someplace, you kind of feel comfortable walking up and saying hello. It's consistent with what we're doing inside the video. So think about the signs that you have out there, the signs that you have posted, and how those apply or how they can be used in the business. One of the most common signs that I see out there, and I like to call bullshit on this, and there we go. Now it's a adult version of the content, but we have signs up there that show our values as a business, like what we believe in. Now, one of the cool things about having those values posted as a business, in my view, is you can align on guiding principles. It's really hard to align on values inside an organization. Values are very personal, but most people will have value statements built out there. If you've got your values listed, it's really clear what's important to you as a business, then that can start to inform how people make decisions out in the field. So if safety is one of your primary values, my expectation is that when people are making decisions on whether or not to do work or invest in certain things or have people in certain areas, is that safety is a core component of how folks will make decisions doing that work. Meaning, I won't, if safety is key, I won't do unsafe things in the workplace or work environment. I won't run, as an example, to get from one place to another, even if there's an emergency or there's some kind of customer thing that's happening at a point. So let's have those posted. There's posted up someplace so that people can look at it and have a quick reminder that this is the key or this is the important thing that is necessary for us inside our business and how we operate. If I see someone or if someone asks me to do safety's first, and as someone asks me to do something that's unsafe, now I've got the authority to push back against the leadership and ask a question around it and make sure that I understand the context and how we're prioritizing things. So have those values listed and posted in a place where members of the team can see them and remember them and know what the definitions are. Another thing that's really important is when you have those values listed, let's have a definition for each. So, so that people are aligned on how we actually define those things. So post the sign, have the definitions be clear, and then periodically go through the process of testing so that people know how to apply that thing inside the business. So what I would do is I'd put together a sign that shows your values, or I prefer guiding principles. Again, a little bit nuanced, and happy to discuss that further if someone's interested in the conversation. Have that sign posted there, and then ask your team how they are applying it in the work that they do. Or do they see instances where work or decisions don't align with those values? And if that ends up being something that's happening inside your business, then you've got to rethink how you go through it. Now, your view on this can change over time as you add new people into the business, as you make new decisions. So don't feel like this has to be static or written in stone. You can change those things over a period of time. And that's, for me personally, why I like to use, instead of values, I like to use principles. And because principles can help us choose which decisions we want to make and help us operate in an environment. Now, the other thing that we want, think about this. As people are going through their work, what are some of the signals that you can use to help remind them how to do the work that they're doing, or remind them of the things that are important inside the business? One of the signals that I like to use when it comes to this are dashboards. So if we go ahead and we put together a dashboard that has information that's constantly being updated, meaning signs, static, so that static, dashboards, dynamic. How do we show whether or not we're winning or losing as a business? What's important to us? Well, from a money perspective, I've shared this with everybody before, but pipeline created, pipeline developed. Those are the two numbers that I care about from a KPI perspective when it comes to sales, when it comes to that leading indicator for revenue that we're going to be able to bring into the business. So that's I want on my dashboard. And what I want to do is I want that to show over a period of time. And ideally, those numbers are going up. We've got our X and Y axis there. Now, the other one that I might look at is if safety is a key piece, number of incidents. And we might show those incidents by month as an example. And that might be some kind of a bar chart that shows how things are starting to perform over a period of time. But we have dashboards that provide signals to indicate what's actually changing inside the business. How are things adjusting? So I've got static signs and I've got dynamic dashboards that start to show performance. If we are really good at putting together our KPIs, then someone should be able to look at this dashboard and get a pretty quick indicator of how we're progressing as a business. Are we winning or losing relative to our broader objectives? This stuff is hard. It's hard to do. Here's the thing that you can do as a business, though, to make this better. Simple as possible, complex as necessary. Keep it as simple as possible, complex as necessary. Even have one key performance indicator that demonstrates how you're performing inside the business. Those things can really help. When you start to look at the dashboard information, you start to gain signals that will help you determine, do you need to make a change or do you need to continue to keep doing what you've got going forward? So that's how I think about things like signs versus signals. And there are indicators that you can have out in your business to help inform your team and create better clarity and alignment so that folks can focus or do focused work and actually execute. I shared a little bit about how this kind of connects in what we see in nature. When you start to see clouds forming over the horizon and wind shifting, you can start to see signals of potential risk relative to a storm where you need to follow the signs and get to the right place, get to the right shelter place. If you know what signs to look for and you're keep mindful of the signals, you'll help reduce risk when you're out in nature. So that's how I would apply or really work to connect the dots between the two. I don't see anybody inside the whiteboard session today, so I'm going to go ahead and end this right now. If you are looking for help relative to signals and signs inside your business to help improve alignment across your team and ultimately drive better execution, you know a guy. P.S. I'm Mike Simmons. I'm that guy.